All right, Yellow Jackets, it's that time again. Time to huddle up and talk about this episode of Yellow Jackets.
Did Ty do it? That's the title.
I was gonna ask you. I read that just literally as did Ty do that? And then it wasn't until part of the way through the episode, the wife was like, "Oh, they're doing a play on Urkel," and I'm like, "Oh!" Even after they talked about all that,
Urkel.
I
Yeah.
still didn't put it all together. I was like, what is this title in reference to? Because is it did she kill Lottie or is it something else? Because they don't really spend very much time investigating who killed Lottie in this episode. I was
I mean,
surprised about that.
that's like the only thing that the adults are doing, I would say, outside of
Mhm.
Van and Ty, because they're always doing their own thing these days, as adults. And probably still, I mean, as teens too, they're off doing their own thing in the woods. But yeah, I feel like Misty at least has the dedication to solve the murder that I was honestly surprised none of them were upset or cried because I thought that Lottie might have meant more to them, but also I feel like I don't know if I expect them to get emotional about deaths really like they did about Natalie, but like Lottie's also more of a complicated figure, so I can understand none of them crying. I mean, if you compare them to the teenage versions, you're like, I mean, I haven't really seen them cry that much.
Yeah.
Some of
It-
them have, but they seem pretty numb to it. So maybe that's part of it. But I feel like the fact that Shauna is like projecting all of her guilt about possibly being responsible for at least kicking Lottie out and yelling at her last, 2 weeks ago, that I feel like she is projecting all of that onto Misty and acting like Misty's the guilty one. So it's still Shauna just avoiding responsibility or whatever's going on. There is something going on, it feels like in the background. Like, I don't feel like we're crazy. I feel like there's something going on in the background with the adults, but like they're just not picking up on it yet. I'm hoping because Misty is just badass, of course, as always, that she will figure it out. But I just feel like yeah, they have not realized that like maybe there's a reason the yellow jackets as adults are dropping like flies.
yeah.
I don't know.
I
I
mean,
might be concerned about that.
it does make sense that they don't really mourn Lottie like they did Natalie. Like they didn't. I mean, who knows if Lottie even had a funeral, but like Lottie, there's so much bad blood. It's like, oh yeah, what is it? A little over a month ago in the timeline, Lottie tried to kill Shauna, and
I
it's
mean,
like
yeah, they were
everyone
ready to
kind
lock
of
her
hates
up.
her.
That's what I thought, but then it's like I don't know. When you go back to the teen timeline, like she's such an influence. So that's what I think is interesting. So I'm curious because I do feel like this episode doesn't quite like it's maybe not 100% about who killed Ty. Wow. But I do think that's the number one suspect, and maybe it's supposed to be. But I do feel like they're pretty much pointing towards Ty being the one that killed Lottie. I don't know why that would make sense for her to do that because I don't know, but I feel like maybe that's why the episode is called this because she
hmm
didn't end up. Spoiler alert, if you haven't finished the episode and you're listening to this for some reason. But if she didn't end up killing Ben, so I don't think that's where the title of the episode is coming into play. I do feel like it could be about the Lottie thing. Maybe it's about in general, like the other tie coming out. When did that happen? I feel like maybe we should just get this over with now because I'm curious. I feel like the whole Lottie death stuff is basically very small. We could probably talk about it briefly before we get into the wilderness.
Sure, yeah. I mean, even though like Lottie is the subject of pretty much the entire adult timeline of this episode, the whole thing felt very lighthearted. Like it looked like everyone was just kind of having a good time, getting into some hijinks.
It was
My
some definite hijinks energy. Yeah.
like my favorite part of this entire episode is Walter.
Oh, he's
And
so great.
and
Elijah
like
Wood just continues to be a delight every time he's on the screen. But his license plate being not Walter, which was just the cherry on top, and him like fucking tailing Shauna so hard.
yeah, not
Good
even
shit.
being subtle about it, just like
Yep. And I'm like, I love their whole interactions. Honestly, the team up of like against Misty and then having it be those two, I was just like, okay, yeah, Shauna and Walter, this is a fun dynamic,
yeah.
you know? And
And
them proposing as internet support people was really funny to me. I just really loved this whole thing. And then also Shauna being like, it's citizen, like, there's a new sheriff citizen in town. It's like, idiot. It's citizen detective.
well, and the fact that I mean, we're definitely seeing more of like Walter very much could be a sociopath because it's very strange that his entire motivation for trying to figure out what happened to Lottie is just to be nice to Misty, to give her a challenge.
He's not
And
necessarily being nice to her, he's frustrating her. But supposedly that's what he said. He knows how to make her toes curl, and it
yeah,
has always been a challenge. And I love that so much.
it's
Um, but I feel like
Shauna's reaction to everything that he
she's like,
says.
ew, gross, stop, don't say that. But she's also like, I'm sure that you do. But like, if, and that maybe is why you killed Lottie, you know, that would
Yeah.
not surprise me. But, and like, even how he's like, well, Shawnee, you did kill Adam, and now you're gonna, maybe you'll kill again most often. And she's like, it's not exactly like you guys don't have a fucking body count. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, both of them have at least killed one person. Shauna, I'm sure she'll kill some more bitches in the wilderness before that time's over. So, I feel like she's probably got more under her belt than he knows. It is funny the like juxtaposition to me of like seeing teen Shauna being so terrifying and angry and like just mad all the time, and then seeing adult Shauna fucking teaming up with Walter, and you're like, this is the same person. She would have straight up cut his head off in the
Yeah.
teen timeline if he tried anything. But I feel like I'm like, I do feel that yes, what they revealed with Walter feels like he genuinely is trying to win Missy back. And I feel like he's right about the way he's approaching it, but like not about Lottie's death. I don't think she wants a challenge that way. This is not necessarily the game or fun she would want to have. This isn't fun for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is like I'm trying to figure out what happened to my friend, and I feel like he's just trying to obstruct her and trying to be like it would normally work, I think, outside of it being a friend that they're investigating the death of.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. But so I do feel like I feel more genuine, like he really genuinely loves Misty.
Hmm.
You?
I'm still choosing to believe that he's gonna be a
Yeah.
good guy throughout.
Fingers
because
crossed.
because I love him and I want him and Jeff to team up again. Like
That was
I we,
great.
we need like a bottle episode where all the adults are like they're gone for some reason and then Walter and Jeff have to team up to figure out what's going on.
Dude, bottle episodes are like so fucking hot right now.
They're
Severance has
everywhere.
had three this season already,
And two
and
of them
maybe
back to
more.
back.
Two of them back to back. That's just a big fuck you to the audience. Side note. Fucking baller move by the Righteous Gemstones though, because they started off season 4 premiere, boom, bottle episode. And I'm just like, wow, with a character we don't even know, played by Bradley Cooper in the Civil War era. It was amazing. It was so good. That actually was okay. But I do feel like that's just such a popular thing. I would not be surprised if we got a bottle episode.
I don't
However, people would fucking lose their shit if it was just a Walter and Jeff episode. People already think that nothing is happening on this show. And I'm like, there's pretty much a lot happening, but I just think people just are used to the binge model, so they don't know
that's
how to
so
handle it
That's
anymore.
so weird to hear that people don't think anything's happening. And I feel like this was also a sentiment last season when we were going through this. And like as you and I talk each episode, we talk about this stuff for a while. And it's like, how do you guys think nothing is happening? Like
They
I get
literally are so
maybe
crazy online. It's like there's nothing happening. And then also, all of these characters are horrible. I don't like any of them. Who am I supposed to root for? It's like, fucking grow up. It's not black and white. Game of Thrones really is responsible for this, I think. They're the ones who made the morally gray characters like iconic television fucking bait. Literally. Like every character on that show might some of them started off pretty white, but by the end they were all at least pretty gray or dark
yeah,
gray. You
yeah,
know, Jamie Lannister being a perfect example. But like that thing is, I feel like when it became popular again, and then we got also get like Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, all these things. So it's like, why is it people are making a fuss out about it just because they're women and they're held to a higher standard? I think is the problem, which is garbage. You know, men and women should be able to just to behave badly as equals. Like it shouldn't be a problem. Plus, You see in the first scene, these bitches are fucking killing and eating each other.
Yeah.
I don't know what you thought was gonna happen at the end, but this
Yeah.
isn't gonna go down and like they're not gonna get better before it's gonna get worse every week. You
It's
might
like,
tune out if that's your problem.
do you want us to repeat Lost, where they
Yeah.
just are doing crazier and crazier things and losing the plot the whole way down the rabbit
I
hole?
can't even get into how much that show bothered me and I rewatched it finally, watched it all the way through because I'd never even finished it. Then I was just like, I still don't care because I'm like from how long did they introduce a smoke monster and a polar bear on a fucking island and like a tropical island, and they never follow up on those things for seasons. I just can't get over it. Every week I was like, why is nobody asking about that thing? Why is nobody looking for it? I'd have questions. And it's like I can't just be the only one. So I feel like if Yellow Jackets, I think because they have only a 5 season plan, I feel more confident that they're not gonna like
Yeah.
stall and like kind of make things happen for whatever. People think that they're just like totally dropping plot lines and stuff. And I'm like, I think you just like don't understand TV and like let's just watch the season, then maybe make up your thoughts afterwards. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's just me. I like to give people a chance.
Well, my like two of my favorite moments, but actually one of my favorite moments, I loved at the very beginning when Misty was giving them the whole speech in her house, and then she leaves, and then they're just like, "Did Misty just leave her own house? Did she just
She just
walk out of
stormed
her
out
own
of her own
house?"
fucking house, but
And then
she
she's
gets back in. Yeah.
like, "No, you guys have to go."
This is my house. It's like fucking Misty just continues to be a delight.
She's
And
amazing.
honestly, the most rational one of all of them as an adult and as a teenager. Honestly, she's the most normal. I don't think she ever full goes like insane like they do. It's almost like I think she's weirdly most similar to Shauna, where like Shauna, it seems like her mind isn't like she doesn't get as crazy. They don't act out as crazy as the other girls most of the time. It's like they are able to like fully process it without having to like blame the wilderness or believe in some other shit.
Hmm.
They both accept like, no, we did that because we're insane, but
Yeah.
like that's fine. Like they are aware of that. And that's what maybe why they butt heads as adults so much. But like Shauna, fucking stop projecting, man. If anyone had reason to kill Lottie, it's fucking you. I was so
Yeah.
mad. But also I'm like, that's pretty on brand for Shauna, honestly.
Um, I did want to ask you. So there's one, this will be my last thing before we get into the teen timeline. When I really liked that scene when Shauna was in Lottie's room and then her dad comes in and like mistakes her for Lottie because he has memory problems. I thought that was like a very sweet scene, but I thought it was funny when he was like, "Let's go see the new Scorsese movie," and I was like, I'm having a hard time imagining Lottie being a Scorsese fan. She feels way more like an Ari Aster
Yeah.
fan.
Well, this is in the 90s,
I
2000s. He
guess
was
that's
just a
true.
little child, probably dreaming up some fucked up nightmares to direct. Ari Aster hadn't gotten to the point he was at. But I bet you nowadays she definitely probably was like on the side of the cult in Midsommar and like
Yeah.
she was like, those are the good guys. That's a happy movie. Um I mean very similar, honestly, very similar plots. But for before we go from the adult timeline, which I just have to say, like, I love the fact that Walter got a hair from Shauna with the hat because, of course, that's probably 100% why he came up with that disguise for them, is so
Yeah.
that he would be able to get a hair for DNA testing. I just love it.
I love when he
Um,
reached for her hair and she's like,
yeah,
"What do you do?" No.
get the fuck away. It was just so good. Also the fact that Misty thought that they were dating at first, like as the
Yeah.
rebound, she's like, gross. And they're like, what? No, God, no. She's like, it's disgusting, and you need to leave. I hope she takes Walter back because they really are perfect. And I just want Misty to be happy for once in her life, honestly. But before we go, I just have to talk about the Ty and Van situation because it's fine, whatever. I don't care much about their scenes usually, but I think I was vindicated this week with a prediction from last week. So I'd like to draw a little
Oh,
spotlight on
yes.
myself if you don't
Yes.
mind.
Hit me.
Just because this doesn't happen all the time. I'm
My
rarely right.
I'm most excited when Van and Ty are together on screen because that usually means there's going to be great music that pops up.
True that,
We didn't quite
always.
get it this time, but
No, but we did get fucking them. like I would say like maybe half the comments on the Reddit thread with for the episode were all about like Jesus Ty really bringing Van to go see Simone and the kid like fucking what? That was a really weird move.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, Van, go get a fucking coffee. You know,
Yeah.
go away. She has to go in there and like just sit right next to her. Simone giving the side eye, being like, "Oh, so you're her?" It's like honestly, Simone is the most in the right out of anyone on the show.
Yeah.
Good for her for getting away, and I hope her and the kid can stay far away, and the dog, who everyone I'm sure is very excited that he's still alive.
Yeah.
That little guy, because we haven't heard from him or seen from him. Who knows what's going on? But I feel like in this scene I was vindicated because, like immediately, like apparently Sammy was the reason that they were that she was able to go see him because Simone was like, I wouldn't have called, but it was
Yeah.
him. He wanted to see you. And immediately, like I would say within 15 seconds, he's like freaked out. The dog is like growling at her, and they're like, we're leaving, and he's all upset. And then they kind of show the flashback at the end to like what the conversation was, but you never see what Ty actually said. You see him saying something, but like she might think maybe what she said was that, but I feel like she might have said something more fucked up or like grabbed some fucking dirt and ate it in front of him. I
Yeah.
don't know. She was freaking him out because that kid has been tortured for the first half of who knows how long of his life
Yeah.
by having the crazy Ty at the window eating dirt staring in at him. So he
Cause yeah.
recognized her instantly, was like, "You're not my mom. Like you're not
Yeah.
my mom. You're not her." And then they run, and I was like, "Yes, thank you, Sammy. That is
Yeah.
100% the proof that I needed to know. Dark Ty's in control this whole season. I'm betting."
I did not put that together until you just said it. Cause yeah, Sammy was it season one, he would draw the pictures.
Yeah,
So like
nobody followed up on that. Like, oh, who's the crazy? I mean, Ty realizes it when she wakes up mid fucking like hanging by the tree, eating dirt outside of his fucking window. God, that poor kid. When you think about what that kid has gone through, I mean, my God, good thing he got away. I hope he stays away. I
I
honestly,
hope he never does shrooms
yeah, he
because
should never. He's gonna
there's
see
gonna be a
Dark
lot of
Ty.
darkness that
God, if he just stay out of the woods for sure. I mean, God, good God. I honestly feel like that guy, that kid, I was worried that maybe they were writing him out of the show because he got too old. You
yeah.
know, just like we were just talking about Lost, but like literally Walt on Lost did the
Yeah.
same shit where they're like, he's gone for 3 seasons. What? And then he comes back and he's like a fucking man. You're like, whoa. That's what I was worried about with Sammy, but like I'm like, he looks almost exactly the fucking same. So I don't think that that was the issue. I think it's actually just like Dark Ty's been in control, and she's like, I don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah.
You know, she's only all about Van.
It's a good it's a good catch. That would be yeah, that would make a lot of things very interesting. Like when
When
did
did it
she take
happen?
control? Yeah, like has it been the entire season? Because isn't one of the things also that is Dark Tide the only one that sees
The No
the
Eyes Man.
yeah, or I guess they both see it, but
Regular Ty only saw him that once, but like Dark Ty would follow him every night to wherever he's
yeah.
showing her. Who knows what the fuck that's about? Jesus Christ.
Because in episode one she sees the no-eyed man while they're making out to glycerine.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I wonder if it was
Has
Dark
she been
Ty.
in control
That's what I'm
or
saying. I think all season,
or
or
maybe
since Lottie last season. Who knows?
or maybe there's just little times where they switch, like when she sees no-eyed man on the old advertisement. Maybe that's real Ty, but then the
I don't
switch
know
is
though.
seamless. I don't know.
I'm pretty good at catching the switches because that was one thing I was excited about with this episode is that we got to see young Ty do the switch, which she rarely gets to, that actress. I feel like it's always the adult actress of Ty who gets to do the switches instantly because mostly with young Ty that we've seen it was mostly at night.
Yeah.
And so I was also vindicated by saying, like, when they're trying to make her come out so that she can shoot Ben in the teen timeline, they're like, oh, well, what works? Sex. And I was like, I fucking told you she loves Van, man, more than I think regular Ty does, personally. So the fact that she's been giving up literally everything and just focused on Van this entire season makes me feel like it's been Dark Ty in control. I also think now. I think Van knows it's dark tide. Maybe that's why she went to the park. Because that's kind of a crazy move to just show up with your high school ex-girlfriend who like you've always been secretly in love with and you have this shared trauma like to go see your, separation. Like I don't even think they're divorced, her and Simone. So like
Yeah.
it just feels like a baller move unless maybe Van was there because she was like, maybe I should be a little concerned. Like maybe she'll kill the family, right?
I mean, if she didn't know after Ty takes her on a let's go murder Bill
That's what I'm
last
saying.
episode, like,
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty obvious to me this whole season that I've been feeling like it's different, but the actress, like, I think she's so good at doing the switch that,
yeah.
like, you can see it really subtly sometimes, but, like, I honestly haven't really noticed it this season, which makes me think that she's just been Dark Tide the whole time, which would be so interesting because, like, she's fucking socializing and doing things and acting like a person, not eating dirt. So, like, that's clearly not all she does.
Yeah, and
It's weird. She would have evolved a lot through the Woods timeline, basically. So I'm wondering, like, does she come out all the time?
and
Does she come out more?
that would also make sense with her being obsessed with Van because then she's like the one that's calling in the ritual for the sacrifices, like whenever she's burning the stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's all Dark Tie initiating like the ritual. I like that.
Yep. We'll see, but I do feel it's going to continue that way. I feel like we might find out that it was Dark Tie that killed Lottie. That's all.
But what would be the motivation?
Because they didn't kill that other guy. Maybe she went to go see Lottie because she knew she was in New York. Who knows what happened? But Dark Tai seems like I'm never going to figure out that bitch's motivations. Why does she eat dirt so furiously every night? Why does she follow the No Eyes man? That guy can't be taking her anywhere good. I don't think I'm ever going to want to understand what her thought process is like as Dark Tai. So I'm okay not understanding why the fuck she would do that. Same reason I thought she's like on the board as like always a suspect because that bitch does shit. I have no idea why. So she's a wild card to me. She could do anything at any time. She could kill Lottie because who the fuck cares as long as Van's alive? Or maybe she killed her afterwards. I mean, I don't know because she saw Van's hand shake when they were getting the pretzels. So maybe that pushed her.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't know.
it's
But I'm
probably
glad Van at least asked her about it this episode because I was like, thank you, Van. We're all thinking it, right? And I love how she plays it off like, oh, yeah, I just totally did that. And I'm like, bitch, don't fucking do that, okay? If you're Dark Tie, we know you've done crazier shit. She's like, oh, yeah, sure, that's me. It's like, bitch, you fucking stand in a tree and eat dirt all night. That's weird. Like,
it's probably the dirt. That's the motivation.
there's a shot in the trailer of adult Ty eating dirt again and smiling like a freak. So I'm like, I mean, when's that gonna happen? And like, poor fucking Sammy, I hope he's far away. That poor guy and the dog Steve. Just run away, live on a farm, both of you somewhere far away from her.
All right, well, let's get to the teen timeline. That's where everything's happening. Speaking of Dark Tie, um, eh, is Dark Tie like a sex addict? Is that part of the thing?
I
Like,
think it's just with Van. Like it's just with Van. I think that the dark Ty I think it's because Van's the only person who has seen both of them, right?
yeah.
But also maybe because regular Ty loves her so much. So maybe a little of that carries over. But I think because like Van's the only one who was ever like accepting of her or like even trying to bring her out in the past, like in the
Hmm.
wilderness. She wants to bring her out and she suggests to her to do that and all this other stuff. And I feel like I don't know. I've always thought maybe Van has some secret relationship with the other Ty this whole time. Like maybe Dark Ty shows up at her place, throughout the years, every couple years or something, and they have a thing, and then fucking regular Ty knows nothing about it.
Dark Tie is just hitting her with the "you up" text every so often.
I mean, whenever she can get control, and maybe now she's like, I don't think I want to give control back. Like I kind of feel like she's been oppressed for so long that I feel like it makes sense if they were like, I think that'll be a reveal that Dark Tie is, yeah. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's like I just love seeing the part of it in the teen timeline with like Van and her trying to bring it out because it was like we're all kind of curious about that too. How
Hmm.
does it work? And I thought it would be the sex and then also the murder. Those were both two really good options. I mean, yeah, she's a sex and murder addict if you just think about the ways that they try to summon the bitch before she actually shows up. And again, she only shows up when she's about to murder someone. So I do feel like blood and murder is like her primary motivator, but like she might also be a sex addict, at least with Van, because I think she like gets so into making out with her that she like bites her at some point. And you're like, okay, this
Yeah,
bitch is crazy.
I was sitting there and maybe it was just me feeling weird about watching two kids, get down and dirty on the tree stump.
I was
But
just thinking of the UTI and yeast infections that those girls ought to have out there. Good God.
I was like, this is gonna be weird if young Ty just like busts a nut and then switches into dark Ty. Like this is gonna be weird.
Yeah, it would be weird. Or like, what are we watching? Severance?
It's a different kind of climax.
Yeah. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that works at some point because I do feel like maybe it's just because it's like the dark tie is like her animal instincts. So it's like kill, set, mate, and like protect. Like those are like her mama bear instincts. I feel like she's like she's very basic as a
It's
human.
it's like a dark Ty version of Kill Fuck Mary.
Exactly. But she's mostly like just kill and then fuck. And then I think she probably would marry Van, but she probably has no idea what the fuck that even is. Oh, where we get in a tree and eat dirt together forever? Sounds great.
So one of my favorite things is the show focuses a lot on Shauna and Lottie and the adults. It's all the people that are alive. And Misty, Teen Misty, is a main character, but it feels like she's less of a consistent character and more just like comes in and sweeps the leg with amazing performances.
Yeah.
Like last episode, she was amazing as as the defense attorney, and
Hmm.
then I thought she was so good in the very beginning when she's like apologizing to coach and just like laying it out there. I was like,
Oh, so
this
good.
young girl is so good.
Literally, her and I feel like those two are the most in sync as like the younger and older counterparts. I
Yeah.
really just feel, and especially this season, I really feel it. But like, I think it's my favorite line ever on Yellow Jackets when she's like crying to Ben and she's like, "You were my first boyfriend and my first amputation." It's like, what? Of course,
But
Misty would fucking say that. It's so good, and I really enjoy that because it's really fucking funny.
I loved when she said that. It just cut to Ben and his reaction is he just drops his head. He's just like, "What?" Like, I was not your first boyfriend. I was your first amputation, but I was not your
He's like, "This is
boyfriend.
not the time to argue this with Misty," and he's like, "It's okay, Misty." But it is just kind of endearing, honestly, that she would say that because it's like, you've got an extra special place in my heart now because not are you my first boyfriend, but my first amputation, so extra special. Let's hope the only amputation. But maybe Misty
Oh,
hopes for another one at some point. Maybe she'll amputate something off Walter and then they'll be in love. I don't know.
yeah, there we
Maybe that's how
go.
she falls in love with someone. She has to hobble them first, which is an interesting concept because they do technically hobble Ben in this episode.
Yep.
Um, Very much like Misery, honestly, which I feel like Kathy Bates' character in Misery, Annie Wilkes, like if that's not a blueprint for Misty, I don't really know what is.
A hundred
That character
percent.
is so much, especially down to the medical care.
If Misty went full villain, yeah, that's exactly who she is.
If she
Uh,
embraces her dark side at any point, she will. That's why I think there's a theory still that people think if Ben survives at some point, however the fuck he will survive, Misty had to have cared for him afterwards. Or like maybe she kidnapped him and kept, or maybe she just secretly took care of him in her fucking basement house that she happens to have.
it would be between her and Natalie. This is
Yeah.
young Natalie, obviously, because those are the only two people that have actually protected him at any point.
Definitely not Shauna, but I still will hold on to my theory that Coach Ben lives because he lives to fight another day this episode. We both thought he was for sure a goner after not dying in the previous episode that we
Yeah,
thought he was going to die. And next episode, I mean, who knows if he'll die? I fucking hope not. But like Shauna saying, let's light him on fire. I was like,
dude.
Jesus Christ, this is about to get fucked. If they light him on fire, I'm going to be so like distraught.
I was, yeah, that was insane when she's like, eye for an eye, burn for a burn. Like,
Yeah.
let's,
They're like, Mari was the voice of reason, surprisingly, being like, you want to burn him at the stake like an old timey witch? It's like, yeah, isn't that a bit much? I
the
kind of feel like we should just. So The description of this episode mentions that the Yellow Jackets face the reality of having to pull an old Yeller. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but so
No.
many people were online with the description reading that. They're like, okay, I'm pretty sure someone's going to get rabies, or maybe Ben has rabies. I'm like, I don't think rabies is going to factor into this.
That's
Well,
not what they're
no, that's not what that means. Pulling an old Yeller does not, that would be like Cujo closer to. Maybe that would be closer to something you would say if they had rabies, but like, no, doing a old Yeller means taking someone out back and fucking shooting them.
yeah.
That's exactly what that means. And that's exactly what this episode was about. And so I felt very vindicated because I was like, you guys are theorizing about garbage, okay? Or they were
Who
like, oh, whoever's in the cave maybe got bit by a bat or the bat that they ate gave him rabies. I'm like, fucking stop. There's
who
nothing to
here
the rabies.
who hears the phrase we gotta go old Yeller and thinks rabies?
Everyone, every
Everyone
single
thinks you shoot the thing.
I
Like
agree, but everyone on Reddit took this and ran with the fucking rabies, and I was just like, I didn't have the heart to comment and be like, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be anything about rabies, but I was 100% right because that's not a factor into this episode. It's literally just them coming to terms with the violence that they chose last episode, and not any of them are like ready to really face it. I mean, obviously, I think we all know Shauna could fucking kill him in a heartbeat, and she
oh
would. But it'd be too horrible, and nobody wants to trust her with that. She'll
yeah.
shoot his knees out, and then like his dick, and then his head. She'll torture him. No
Yeah.
one's gonna trust her with that. And I hated her when she was like, "What about you, Nat? You're the best fucking shot." And
Shot.
I'd be like, I'm gonna shoot you right now, bitch. Like, don't you if you guys want to kill him, then you kill him. Anyone who didn't vote for it shouldn't have to kill him, personally. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I would think. But also, I guess you want to make sure it's gonna be humane. And these bitches are definitely not gonna make it humane if they do kill him, regardless of whatever efforts there are. I feel like unless he kills himself or escapes somehow, there's no way he's getting a nice death,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, if he does die, I feel like he's gonna die by being eaten alive. Like that's
Fucking terrible. But so, did you think he was gonna die throughout? Like, I mean, I was so stressed when they did that, when they brought him out there and have him tied to the tree, and like they put the fucking sack back over his head. I
uh
was like, oh, don't do it, bitches.
I was questioning myself. I'm committed to that he lives. I think if he's made it this far, he's gonna make it the whole way. Whether or not he's actually found, we'll see. But I did think I was like, they might actually do this. The way that they are building it up is really, really good. And yeah, I don't know, but I did think it was weird when they were deciding on what card to draw. They're like the King of Hearts, the Suicide King. I'm like, this isn't suicide. This is this is outright execution.
Yeah, I was like, Van, where did you come up with this? What are the trees telling you this? She's
Yeah,
like, it's the King of Hearts. That's the Suicide King. I'm like, is this a thing? Have we talked about this?
I've
Do we know?
never heard that in my life.
Nope. But also, weirdo, what the
But
fuck are you talking about?
I did want to ask you as our resident lore expert, have we seen the King of Hearts before? Like I know the Queen of Hearts is very important, but has the King of Hearts like was there some sort of like promotional image or something where we saw the King of
I don't think
Hearts like
so.
last season? I don't know.
I don't think it's a thing. I haven't rewatched since last episode, but I'll go back and do that this week and I'll let you know next week if I found anything because I now am curious. But I know the only thing I know about the cards is that when they found them, there was no queens. And then Javi found the Queen of Hearts and brought it back.
Yeah, and then that's when they started doing the
This.
drawing and how
I'm like,
Natalie
sure,
became the leader.
it makes sense to draw, fine. But like for the kill of Ben, I'd be like, let's make it people who can't like let's just rule Shauna out. I think we can all agree. And then also the maybe like, maybe Misty, obviously, and Nat and Ty would be off the table, but like it would only be the people who voted for it to kill him. Like I would think it would if I was the one who got the card to kill him and I didn't vote to kill him, I'd be like, I'm not doing it. I'll shoot you if you
Yeah.
give me that gun. Honestly, that would have solved a lot of problems if they just shot Shauna in the fucking head whenever they had the gun. But obviously, Ty's not going to do that. But
If
it
Shauna
was just
had
interesting that they're all like hesitant to start to do the kill after they were so pretty much adamant about it for the last couple episodes that they hate him.
Well, Shauna very much intimidated everyone into voting for that last
Yeah. But I
episode.
mean, Jen, even, which it's like, bitch, you used to not speak at all. You're new. Get out of here. She's like, you don't deserve that. When he's like, you're going to look me in the eyes, just like Nat said. And then she puts the bag over his head. I'm like, you barely have a speaking role. Okay, calm down. You can't talk to him that way.
Yeah, Jen, we're pretty confident that you are in this season because you're the one who started the fire.
I
We
hope you
saw
die.
we saw that edit. We
Oh,
saw
yeah.
that edit, that focus in. We saw
Yeah.
it.
We know who you are, bitch, and we're coming for you. If they don't kill you, we will. Fucking watch out. But I honestly really was just like, I wasn't sure that it was going to happen this episode. I thought maybe they might decide on the method of killing. And I just was really fucking hoping they weren't going to set him on fire, really. Like, at least, I mean, the shooting I thought would be okay, that'll be fine. But then once they had the gun pointed at him, I was like, oh God, no. Like, I was like literally losing my mind. Like, so,
Well,
like, don't fucking do it. And like his performance, I
he
think,
was so
just
good.
broke me because he goes through all the stages of like trying to bargain and then like trying to be fucking like, fuck you. And then he's like, okay, I'm sorry. Please don't do this. It's like so depressing. And like, even him hearing like Paul's voice, I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit. Is he starting to get really delusional again? Oh boy.
I will say though, man, even though you're in prison and like on, just you're on the Green Mile, you're getting ready to be executed.
Respect. Thank you
S-
for that reference.
yeah, staying in the little petting zoo until then, it's not the worst place to stay before you die. Getting to just like sleep with the goat. That
When
seems
he
pretty
was
nice.
holding that baby goat, I was like, that baby goat is so cute. And I would do the same thing. And then when they came and put the bag over his head, and then even he's like, no, what? And the goat even starts like, rah! Like it's getting upset. You're like, stop it. You're hurting everybody. God damn it. I was like, somebody fucking let him go. God, how many times are they going to torture this poor man? But I realized, like, obviously, I was just really surprised that Travis was the one to jump out and didn't get shot. I mean, we all know Travis lives, but I thought maybe he gets shot somewhere.
Yeah.
Then that would be a whole thing. But the fact that he like came in and saved him at the last minute, I was like, fuck. Because of course, other tie or dark tie pops up at the last fucking thing, like, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
like, Jesus, oh God, she's in control now, guys. We should probably not have given her the gun. It's like
Yeah.
maybe Van should have mentioned that to other people that like there's this other crazy bitch who might take over, guys. We might never see that gun again.
I mean, I would say that killing something is maybe the motivation, but Dark Tide did not come out in that extremely graphic rabbit killing.
Can't even watch it. Don't even
What?
want to talk about it. It's so fucked up. That was so awful.
I sat there, I'm like, this is worse than John Wick. Whoa, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, this is the worst. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go kill myself. Thanks.
But
Thanks, Yellow Jackets. Was this necessary? I don't need to see it. Fuck. I'm not watching this show to watch bunnies be tortured.
all right, can
However, it's CGI. Okay, we can all feel better about that at least. That's
yeah.
one good thing about CGI.
All right, can you make sense of Akilah's vision?
Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I
Because
forgot.
I was like, what is going on here? What in the bridge to Terabithia is going on here? Because
Well,
we see
yeah,
Coach Ben strung up as a
giant.
bridge. We hear car honking in the
Like see
darkness.
civilization
Yeah.
beyond, and he's giant and she uses him as the bridge, and then she's all, we can't kill him, he's the bridge home, like he's our bridge home. A lot of people think obviously he's not going to be the bridge for them because that is, I mean, I kind of, unless you believe in the supernatural part of it, maybe that it's telling them something, but I kind of feel like I was more, so I love that you got the bridge to Terabithia thing because I felt like I looked up this, I kind of read a whole summary of this story because the image of him being giant, all tied up like that reminded me of this story called Gulliver's Travels. And granted, I've never read the story or seen the actual movie. Like, I think it's like a really old story, but it sounds like it's like written as like a travel log of this guy who goes on all these old travels. And the image of like Ben being huge, tied up is very similar to like his first, I guess, travel. I didn't even know that there was more beyond that in the book. But apparently, just his first adventure, he's shipwrecked onto an island and he becomes a prisoner of all these people who are like 15 centimeters tall. So like tiny. And
Hmm.
they have him like stretched out and he's all tied up like that. And it's like really funny looking because he's so big and they're so small. And so they believe they're first really like apprehensive about him, but then after him being like, no, 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 I come in peace, like it's gonna be fine. They let him out. They let him be around as long as he doesn't hurt anyone. And at first they're good, but they're really like still kind of a little weary of him. And eventually they end up falsely accusing him of murder, which I
Mm.
thought was interesting. Um, and they basically they sentence him to be blinded, I guess, so not necessarily dead. But I thought this was interesting because it kind of like obviously very similar parallels with Ben and with the dream of Ben in that. I thought it was interesting because it says in the story, with the assistance of a kind friend, he escapes. And I was like, ah. And he spots and retrieves an abandoned boat, sails out to be rescued by a passing ship, which safely takes him back home. And I was
Mm.
like, interesting. So what if Ben escapes somehow without, I mean, his Achilles tendon gets cut at the end of this. So it's going to be pretty shocking. But I thought it was really interesting because it kind of, maybe just because I saw some parallels to like our theory that Coach Ben lives, and I'll be yelling this at the insane asylum all night if you want to hear some more. But I do feel like the end of this Gulliver's travel story. It says like after all these travels, he ends up like on this other place with like Anna, like literally like human like horses, and they look down on humanity, and he like ends up thinking they're so much better and that people are the worst. And so when he returns home after all of his travels to England, he's unable to like reconcile himself to living amongst all the people there. And he becomes a recluse, remaining in his house and spending several hours a day speaking with the horses in his stables. And I just
Mm.
thought that could possibly parallel something that happens with Ben. I'm just saying, this is like everyone whose team Coach Ben lives. I think we might have a little bit more steam to our fire. That's all I'm
Mm.
saying after reading that. Because I have never actually, I've just seen that imagery in like a bunch of old movies and references and stuff. So I know that what that story is, but I had no idea what the plot was besides tiny people tying him up. So I just thought that's fucking like pretty apt. I don't know. We'll see if it actually plays into Yellowjackets, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
That is interesting. The only sense of it that I could make, and it's really just my biased thoughts on how I think Ben gets left behind, is Ben somehow is the reason or the bridge to how they get rescued. But then because he's tied up, because he is the bridge, he's left behind. That was the
I
only
like
sense
that.
I could make of it. It-
I think
But
that makes sense. Honestly, that's a good one too. That could totally be it. I've seen a lot of people say I feel like it's more that he's like the bridge, the last bridge to their humanity and civilization, and that
mm,
once they kill him and eat him, it will be fully they've gone to the dark side and there's no turning back.
yeah.
So
Or
less civilized. There's no civilization anymore. Everyone's out for themselves. It's like a fucking violent society.
And maybe if we want to connect this to Gulliver's Travels, maybe Ben has a time where he talks with the weird speaking alpaca
Yeah,
that that
exactly.
Akilah saw, and that replaces the horses. But
I
I don't
mean,
know.
who knows? Ben lives to fight another day. That's honestly just something I did not expect this episode. And I mean, honestly, I don't know what people are saying when they say nothing's happening. I feel like I'm constantly surprised every week and constantly engaged. The adult story, yes, is a bit more silly, but it's kind of like if you watch Midsommar and then you pair that with
I was afraid.
Santa Clarita Diet, that TV
Oh,
show where Drew Barrymore becomes a zombie and then she has to eat people, and then they're like, it's kind of almost like Dexter where they have to get away with murder, but they're killing bad guys, but she has to eat them and it's disgusting. And her husband's just like, I'm gonna go crazy because like he's trying to take
yeah.
like make it so that they're not killed and their life just spirals and it becomes so dark and like disturbing, but it's all through comedic tone. And I feel like it's very similar hijinks, which funny because the actress who plays Van plays their daughter on that show and she's great.
Oh, nice.
So extra connection, but I do feel like they play it in a similar way where it's like, yeah, we just ate this guy and killed this guy and did all this, but it's like just a Tuesday, you know. It's kind of funny in a weird way. I do feel like there was some good serious stuff with the adults, so I'm hopeful because like that, like you said, that scene with Lottie's dad and Shauna was really sweet, and then like I'm just curious. I hope we find out maybe a little bit more focus on Lottie and what she was doing right before she died because I feel like they raised some interesting questions this episode.
Yeah, and I feel like something with Lottie's death is has to tie to Callie. So we'll
Yeah.
see whatever that is because she
In the
was
preview,
banking.
yeah, she was. And it did show that she withdrew the money. So I was wrong in saying that like the bank wouldn't walk her out for like taking her money with her. I guess they still do
Oh,
because she withdrew like $50,000,
oh yeah,
which is
that's
the
right.
same amount as the blackmailer. Just a note, just something I flagged.
Hmm.
We'll see if it comes to anything. I'm sure I'm just flagging shit for no reason over here, but like honestly, a little bit interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week. And yeah, we'll see you next week when we're ready to huddle up.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.